to address you amidst the preparations that all of you are planning to have all along with the execution of the e-platforms or the online teaching. And I'm so fortunate that we were able to associate with Maharaja's College, where a two-day webinar is being organized under the coordinatorship of Dr. Julie Chandra and Dr. Vanaja. And from my team, I welcome Dr. Kannan Balakrishnan, Dr. Felix, and Mr. Padmakumar, who will be doing all the technical support today for the Zoom licensed platform of Jane. So that my modus operandi today is to just ease down the operations, or rather the preparations what you are planning for the days to come. We all may be knowing that from June 1st onwards, the entire state, right from KG classes to schools, and from schools to degree institutions to PG and to higher education institutions, all are actually going for online sessions. So all may be little apprehensive, or rather a little tensed to take on how the execution can be made, and how with ease that you can operate all these things, and what all preparations that we have to take amidst before the execution of this. What I'm planning to talk today is based on my experience for the last 2 months, where we were all going online for around a day itself. We were around executing 110 sessions online, all parallelly to any of the through any of the web platforms. So the talk what I have planned today is all based on my experience, so that the approach what I am planning to take is all based on problem solving approach, whereby we'll be executing it based on all the problems what we have faced during our execution. I'm getting information that a few people are not able to enter the session. See, this session is purely an authenticated session where they have to sign in with their email ID to the Zoom platform. Then only they'll be permitted to enter the session. This is as part of a security protocol where people have to enter with their email ID. They need to register with their email ID to the Zoom platform. Then with ease that they'll be able to enter. I have not enabled any of the waiting rooms or any other restrictions. Passwords are also not enabled, so that by using the meeting link or the meeting ID, they can freely join inside. Only requirement is that they have to authenticate with their email IDs. That is the only requirement. Two options are there for that. Either they can use your own email ID, or they can log in with their Gmail account, or they can use even their Facebook account for login. So these three options that they can take. Coordinators may please inform them, so that they'll be able to log in with ease. Altogether, now we have 45 participants on place. We are expecting a few from outside India also. So probably in the due course of time that they may be joining. So what I have planned is not a theoretical or a lecture-based session today. I'll be just going on hands-on. What I have planned is I'll be just sharing the screen with you people. So what I have planned for today is actually based on three different things. So for the execution of an online session, that I have segregated it into three parts. First one is actually a pre-course delivery preparation, and the mid part is actually what we are expected to, the course of action, and the last one is the after the course of action, what we are actually supposed to do. So if we are planning to go online from 1st of June, we have to do lot many preparations. So for that, all those things what you have to be equipped for that will be addressed under the pre-course delivery preparations. I'll be covering it in detail with certain formats what you have to do, and certain protocols what you have to prepare for the execution of that. Second thing is on the course of action. Course of action also I have planned it in two different ways, because the major issue what we are planning to we may be facing will be the issues with the internet. So you can have two calls. One, if you don't have internet strength, enough internet strength, what are the options available for you to go online? And second one is that if the connection is stable, what all plans that you can go for? And the third one is actually very important. It's on the post course delivery, where I may be exposing you to certain learning management platforms, all along with know how that you can conduct examinations also online. Since it is online, it may have its own flows, but with the current technology what we have right now, without incurring much of a cost, how we can easily able to demonstrate to all these things will be my focus actually today. So the first phase is what the preparation stage. So this is the phase where we all have to be very careful, because you have to have a very a strong foundation for the execution of plans. Since it is an educational institute, we cannot sit in isolation. We may be sitting in isolation, but in real sense or in virtual sense, we are not sitting in isolation. And what we have to plan for is a meticulous preparation activity should be undertaken well before the execution of the course. So 2 months prior, we had such a situation, and within a week's time that we were able to articulate all these things. And with the help of with the help of the technical people and with the people from academia, we were able to run the course for the last 2 months. We are actually now catering to around 1,200 students. Simultaneously, around 110 sessions are going on every day, parallelly through online. So I'll be just explaining about step-by-step activities, what we have to do, the step-by-step planning, what we have to take, and the doubt clearing session that we can plan it at the end of the session, where you can use the hand raise option, which is there in the Zoom platform. Under, if you click on the participants under that, no, you'll be able to see a picture of a hand. If you just try to click on that, I'll be able to see who all are who all are actually want to speak to me, so that I'll call their names and I'll try to clarify the doubts. And after the session, the video recording is also enabled, so that you all may be, I'll be posting this in YouTube, and the link also will be available, so that even after the session also, if you want to just cross check or cross verify something, you can go to the web link, and you'll be able to see this in YouTube all the time. So this is what I'm planning. And I'm actually engaging this session as a meeting in order to have more interaction. That is why I have not converted this to a webinar platform also. So this is as a meeting that I'm hosting this. So coming down to the preparations that we can have, the time allotted for me is I'm planning to wind off this course at least by within 1.5 hours, including your doubt clearing session. So that you can just write down the doubts that if you have, and we'll try to clear it at the end of the session. So how to go about this is the first question that we actually need to ask. Before that we go, the pre-delivery will be there, and the course of action and the post-course delivery. And this is the 3 questions that you have to address well before we are planning for an online session. First one, do we have some budget set apart for either buying any of the platforms or getting a license, something like that? Yes or no answers, both I'll address it today, so that no need to be panic regarding that. Second thing is that what is the strength of, or what is the status of internet connectivity for faculty members as well as for the students? So 2 things are really important here. And the third one is how ready we teachers are. That is the most important that I would like to say for. It can be even otherwise called as the readiness for a delivery. So what preparations that we had content wise, or rather infrastructure wise, or the execution plan wise. So these are the 3 things that we have to start pondering initially, well before saying the word online. So immediately when COVID restrictions came, everyone started telling about online, all these things. But one thing I'll tell you, this cannot be substituted with the contact classes or the regular classes what we have. This can be done as a supplementary course of action, but now the environment is not permitting anyone to have a direct contact, and with the circumstances what we have right now, we cannot expect any smooth environment at least by September of this year. Even I don't know, September the things will be smooth, but so that we have to get equipped, we don't have time to waste, because if we get it prolonged, the students future will be in danger. Their course may get extended, or no, you may not be able to hold the examinations on time. So all these issues are actually there, so we have to find a way out to go about it. And thanks to the technology, we have n number of options these days, free versions as well as paid versions or semi-paid versions that we have. The version that we are right now interacting is Zoom, where you have both the options. You have a free version as well as you have a licensed version. So there may be, of course, a difference will be there between the two options. So that is why I have put the first thing as budget. If budget is there for you, of course, that you can plan for taking license of any of the online meeting platforms that you have. Many things are actually available of that, because no, there are many competitors also, so that you can even talk with the marketing representatives of these platforms, and you can actually bid for a better rate. So because there's more number of operators are there. If you don't have budget also, there is no problem, that I'll be going through options which are free also. See, what you just had right now is the problem that you are going to face from your students as well. Since we are going on for a teacher's session, I have not put any restrictions. So you may, I know the curiosity for you, so you may be pressing here and there. So for the time being, at least up to the end of the session, I think it will be better that you can just avoid all these activities, because I have not put any restrictions in Zoom. The host can actually put on restrictions to each and everything. But since this is a meeting, especially for teachers, I have not enabled any restrictions. So for going on with the students or coming out with the problems that I'm planning to take, all these things that I'll be explaining. So these are the three things. You can ask questions to yourself. Budget, are we available with any budget? Second thing is that what is the status of internet connectivity for me as well as for my students? And the third one is, how ready am I? I know I am, with respect to the preparedness level, how prepared I am. So all these things, these three things that you have to keep in actually mind. And now coming to the next, so these many things that I'll try to plan for, I'll try to go for explaining, because we have these many points to explain in this or to discuss with respect to the pre-course delivery preparations. Of that, the first one is systematic planning of timetable. You may be thinking, because we are patronized or experienced in the way how to put the timetable, all these things, and many may be using some softwares also for that, for execution of the timetable, or rather many institutions do have their own ERP systems where a timetable will get auto-generated based on some custom commands. Whatsoever, the timetable preparation for an online session is totally different from the normal thing what we have. Of that, the first difference is, normally in a timetable, we teachers go to the classes for the execution. But rather for an online class, it is actually students are joining your sessions. So what you have to actually think as, there is one more request, if possible, try to mute all your microphones, so that there will not be any disturbance. So that here students are actually joining a teacher's class, and the benefits what we have is, you may be taking the same subject for multiple classes. Say for example, if you're teaching English will be there in BCom, English will be there in BSc, English will be there in BA, all these places. So the advantage here for an online session is that you can just host one class for English. If the timetable, if the syllabus is same across for different batches, you can invite all those students actually to a single class. The platform, if you are using Zoom can accommodate 500 students at a time. If you are using any of the Google platform, it can accommodate 250 students at a time. And many of the softwares which are available these days are capable of accommodating more number of students. So maximum strength what we can expect in a single class is actually 60. This is what I said. So that when you are preparing timetable, you have to consolidate it all along with the different disciplines what you have in your institution. So for example, there should be a convergence actually should be there with respect to all the departments, so that common subjects can actually be shared, or no, the class can actually be taken only once, so that you can cater to more number of crowd in a single slot. So it is always better when you try to prepare the timetable. uh, this is the problem that I said. Okay, fine. So now I have disabled the annotations. This is what, as a teacher, you all are expected to do when the students are joined online. So and I can understand the curiosity. Okay, that we'll come back to the sessions. Fine. So what we have to plan here is, you have to have a central committee for the fixation of the timetable. And what you can actually do is, you can actually consult with all the department heads, or people who are taking common subjects, and you can prepare for the those timetable first, and allocate that a particular thing for a time schedule, and later on that you can fix your own subjects all along with that. And it will always be better, especially for the first 1 week of the execution of the class. It is always better that you should have an online monitoring of it. So what can be actually done for the monitoring also, I'll tell you. Before that, I'm going to the other things what we are actually discussing on this. So what we have to plan for next is, just a second. So now this is actually the format what you can follow for preparing a timetable. And you all may be asking, how many sessions can be there for a day? You just imagine, we have conducted around 5 sessions for a batch, but you just imagine continuously sitting in front of the system, or in the laptop, or by using your phone continuously for 5 hours can be really tedious. So two options that you can take: either you restrict the number of sessions for a class to 3 hours, so that you can have 1 hour break in between, or you can go to maximum 5 hours also. You start the session quite early. After every session, you try to keep a 1 hour gap in between, and that you can do the same thing. And another thing is that when you are trying to prepare the timetable on every day basis, this timetable should actually reach the students. You may ask me why. Why, I'll tell you. Because for every online platform, every session will have a separate meeting ID and password. So if you are using Zoom is having a protocol for enabling certain security features, which actually is advising you to not to keep a static ID for all the classes. So what you have to plan for is, you have to create different IDs on every day, and the password also will be different on every day, so that you can enable because you can increase the security of the class, whereby you can restrict infiltration sort of things. Because since this is, you might have heard regarding Zoom bombing or Meet bombing. There are many internet savvy people who are always ready to peep into your class and do all the nuisance. So in order to restrict all these things, certain security restrictions are also there. So that is why I have mentioned here, because this is a 3-session timetable what I have prepared. So what course that you are delivering, that you can mark it here. And why batches I have written, if say for example English, or for Maths, or for common subjects like that, or a Malayalam, or whatever it is, you'll be able to address multiple number of batches at the same time. So here you can actually type BA, BCom, BSc, all the things that you'll be able to write, so that students will be able to know who all are actually included in that particular timetable. And faculty members name also that you can write here. The time of the delivery session can also be done. And meeting ID and password is really, really, really important. You should not make any mistakes here. And mostly all of you will be preparing all this timetable in Excel sheet. Excel sheet, there is one problem that you can anticipate. Sometimes the password or the meeting ID starts with the number 0. So what will happen is that what will happen is that if you try to keep if you try to keep zero if you try to keep zero in the like Excel sheet, and if you try to type the numbers thereafter, the zero will not be getting displayed, which can actually create a lot of mess, because students will not be seeing that zero and they will try to enter the password. So that you have to actually address in the property of the cell, where that you have to change it to general, and you have to make a provision for entering that zero also. Or if it is in Word, there is no problem at all. And if it is a licensed version what you are planning, what you can do is that, because you may be going from different licenses, so those license number also that you can write. If it is a free version, there is no problem associated with this. So this is the first thing what you have to create, and based on that all these fields actually should be filled, and then this has to be sent to the students prior well in advance, either the previous day evening, that this timetable should reach the students. And now we all may be having either a WhatsApp group or a mail group for sending all these things. And mind you, for preparing this, definitely you need a centralized coordinator or somebody for this, where there should not be any clash in between. Teachers may be going to different sessions, so all these things actually should be planned, and meticulous effort actually should be there for the execution of this. So this format can be taken, and more number of hours can actually be taken to the other side of it. So the first setting that you should have should be for setting the timetable. So once the timetable is done, the next thing is that you can think about all other things. And before setting the timetable, you have to take a call on what is the medium that you are planning for. I'll be covering all those points in the second part of this. And once the timetable is done, now you have to anticipate, you have to discuss and set apart plans for overcoming the problems what you can occur, what you can face during the delivery of the course. Of that, the first one, because teacher definitely will be the host of the meeting of the class. So what will happen if the connectivity is very low for teachers? Because the teachers are not super beings or something. Teachers can also have internet connectivity problem. So if you have any sort of problems of that kind, what are the precautions that we can have to overcome that? Next thing is about students connectivity. So if they don't have connectivity issues also, they may be comfortably sleeping somewhere, and they may be telling you the excuse that, ma'am or teacher, I don't have a strong connectivity, so that because of that I was not able to join. In Zoom, that you have a log list where you can trace down who all actually joined for your class, and know that you can download the entire thing and you can keep it ready for attendance or sort of thing. When I'll be explaining that to you when I'm going to the sessions for that. Okay, fine. So third one is, in between the session, if you have a power failure, if you have an internet broadband connection, normally this broadband modem will be connected to a known inverter power supply, so that if the internet power goes, immediately the internet also will shut down. In that case, what exactly you should do? Then another thing is that when you start doing all these things, your system may be running 24/7, because for online preparations that you may require time, for execution that you may require time. So all those things will be there, and for that, what will happen if there is a device failure? And the next important thing what you all are going to face is, We may be preparing the contents for 1 hour or maybe 45 minutes. And first 10 or 20 minutes itself, the entire contents are getting exhausted. You have finished the class. What will we do with the students? Okay. Next thing is that disturbance by participants. I don't need to explain this because we also, maybe by curiosity, especially in the first 1 week or 2 weeks of the execution of the classes, you can see all these things by participants, because we all are very curious beings. We may be interested to actually check each and every option that you have in your window. Then the initial teething problems, because we may be getting a little tense to go online, and what will happen if they see my face, and you may be probably sitting inside your home, and you may be executing all these things. So disturbance intra home and outside the home, or some other external noise can also hamper you. So all these things that we have to find out a solution. So for the first and the second one, the option is that you record your class. So teachers connectivity, if it is in Zoom, immediately it is always better for teachers to have at least 2 connections in home. One that you can have like a geo sort of modems, and the second one, of course, it is always advisable to go for a broadband connection where relatively it will be stable. And from June 1st onwards, another problem that we are going to face is extensive rains are forecasted. So what will happen to the internet connectivity when downpour is very heavy, that you need to anticipate that. So always it is better. Even now also I'm sitting with 3 connections with me, because I cannot take any risk on internet connection failure. So one is actually getting down, immediately that you can switch to the other one. Only a 2 or 3 minutes only will be taken. And if you are hosting the meeting, even if you log out also, immediately the Zoom itself will be trying to connect you again, so that there will not be any problem at all with respect to that. Second thing is that student connectivity issue. Best option is that you go for a recording. And if you have a licensed version of this, Zoom especially, that you can have a cloud recording. You need not have space, keep apart space in your system to download all the recordings. You can have a cloud recording, and you can just share the link of the cloud, so that students will be very, because if they click the link immediately, they will be able to see your lecture. So there is no problem. If it is not a licensed version, you can download the entire thing to your system, make it ready. If you are downloading to your system, there is another more advantage. Every session what you are trying to take, you upload it to YouTube, so that your transparency also will improve. And so that you can give the YouTube link or something to the students, and whenever time is there, they'll be able to see it. Power failures, always make your laptop already, because it is always better that you should host the meeting from the laptop. Desktop, no, if you have a UPS also, it can hold you for 10 or 15 minutes maximum, or else you have to have a higher strength for it. Laptop, no, you can charge your laptop properly and keep, so that, and even if you can air the sessions from your mobile phones also, there is no problem for that. So that power failure you have to anticipate. Device failure, of course, since your systems can overheat, since you are going for video mode, and you should actually anticipate it. So keep your mobile phone also handy with you. If you are facing any problem with your laptop or a desktop, immediately you switch it to your mobile phones. And next one is contents getting exhausted. You have to thoroughly plan for 2 hours. Then you will be able to cover the entire 1 hour in full, or 45 minutes in full. And if at all you have to if at all the time is running, your content is actually running so fast, what you can plan for is you can plan for some exercises, or some quiz, or some question answer sessions, or something like that, or a discussion session that you can plan. How to execute a quiz, all these things I'll be showing it to you when going to the second part of the session. Disturbance by the participants. This is the major take that you have to have when you try to take a call on whether to go for Zoom type of platforms, or to go for any Google based platform. Google based platforms, for example, if you're trying to take Meet don't have any right for the host to restrict the participants. That means you can always mute the participants in Meet, but if they want to unmute, they'll be able to unmute it immediately. But in Zoom, the advantage is that you can just tie all the hands and legs of your participants and even mouth also in all respect, because you have the host do have the right for doing all these things, so that you can enable that, because otherwise sometimes no, you can have certain sort of disturbance in that. I'll be going through all those things when we are trying to explain that part of the session. And now this is a $1 billion question that you need to ask yourself: how should I choose a platform? So here the two things what you have to make a tug of war is the cost versus the convenience. So if you want to have the convenience to the higher end, a little bit of cost also will be involved. But sometimes we may not be in a position to invest no much into a paid platform or a licensed platform or something. Even without the license also, you will be able to articulate it. Maybe in the first 2 or 3 weeks that you may have all the issues with. So later on, students will lose the curiosity in doing all these things, and rather they also may be habitualized, and they also may be learning the etiquettes of an online class. So there is a learning curve for that. You have to wait until then, and even if you are not investing also, you'll be able to beautifully manage it. There is no problem with respect to that. And based on these two aspects, any number of things are available in the internet, any number of, because it is not only Zoom or Google or something. There are many others, the WebEx is there, many other platforms are there. So any one of that you can just enter, you just try to check which one is good, and you can actually take a call on that. So these are the two things: the cost and the convenience aspect, what you have to actually cater for. And the remaining things is, if you are actually going for a licensed version, you have to, the timetable committee has to sit for an optimization. Example, I'll tell you this. I am telling from my experience. We have around 11 license purchased from Zoom. We are catering continuously, simultaneously to around 1,100 students. So if you don't optimize your license, that means you cannot have a single license for a single course. Say for example, BSc chemistry, or for the chemistry department alone, that because it will be very costly for you to afford a license. So what you can do is 2 or 3 batches can be combined. Maybe chemistry and physics can join together, because 24 hours you have the slot. So you try to optimize it according to the availability of the slots. I think you can start the class morning right from 8 o'clock, and it can even go up to 6 in the evening. So that 2 or 3 batches can optimize it, so that license can be well utilized, so that the number of licenses can actually be reduced. Next thing is that how that you will communicate to the students regarding what is the timetable which teacher is actually taking, and all these things. It is always better, because every institution will have a students the WhatsApp group or something, and class teachers or class tutors will be having an access to them. So I need not explain much onto that. This is what I said: you should have a centralized consolidated consolidation of the timetable, and there should be a centralized committee for the scrutiny of it. What we try to do was that I'll be just now sharing a different format with you, which will enable you to trace down every day's activity. And what we try to do was that we have entrusted two professors. So they'll be just going into every class, and they'll make sure that the classes are going on perfect. And our system admin will make sure that the classes which are actually planned classes which are actually planned is going on as per the schedule, or is there any time lag or time duplication. All these things, the system admin will also be able to help us in that regard. So third and the last two things are very important. You should have actually undertaken a training on the course delivery, or at least now 1 week time that you have. on a particular day, one teacher can take a session to the other teachers, and those teachers can actually give a feedback to the teacher who is taking the class. This will enable you to articulate the classes beautifully well to the students, because everyone will be little apprehensive, little tensed on how that no we will be taking, because you are just teaching to a screen, and you'll be able to see your picture. You'll be able to hear your voice in a different way. So all these things will be there, and it is always important for you to keep your students also very much engaging. And the last one is actually course content preparation. So it may not be, because you are not using your board or chalk or something like that. So what you have to actually go for, that is, you can use whiteboards. Whiteboard option is there in Zoom itself. I'll be showing you how to operate that. So these type of things that you have to get prepared, you have to get a practice in using all these things. Otherwise it will be very difficult. So even the teachers can hold a Zoom or no or an online meeting. You make all other teachers join. 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can take a short portion, and you try to use all the facilities which are there in the platform what you are trying to work out, so that others will be able to know what all facilities are there, and they'll be able to give you a good feedback also for you, so that based on the feedback, definitely that you will be able to improve. So these much of preparations that you have to take. Otherwise what will happen is that students will be very curious to listen to what the teacher is saying in the initial days, and if you try to like bomb on them, that no they may lose the interest, and relatively the feedback from the students also will be very less, so that the interest in the entire thing will be lost. And you mind you, you have to at least go in the same mode for the next 3 or 4 months to come, so that you have to be well prepared with respect to this. And now I'm just going on to the hands-on sort of thing. So the first one, these are the two takes that we have to take. First one is, if you have low connectivity, maybe there are institutions which are in rural area, or where the rainfall is actually very high, or you don't have access to a 3G connection or a 4G connection. So these problems you should actually anticipate. So for a place where you have totally low connectivity for the teachers as well as the students, what is the course of action that you have to plan for? So this is the first thing that I'm just going to explain. So for the low connectivity, the best option is PowerPoints with audio enabled PowerPoints, PowerPoints with your audio recorded. So I'm just going to show you how audio recording can be done in a PowerPoint window. Okay. So for that, what you have to do is, just wait. Okay. So I trust you're all able to see the slide. Okay. This is a normal PowerPoint slide. Okay. As normal, you'll be able to, there may be a covering slide, and from the second slide onwards, you may be actually trying to share the contents. So normally you will have a title here. So what all the title that you want to put, that you can put it there, and there may be many contents also that you may be inserting all along. Okay. And normally in the classroom, what we does is that we may be explaining about what is written in this particular slide. Those people who are taking science, mathematics, statistics, where formulas, equations, all these things are there, you can use the equation symbols, all these things, or equation editors are also there, that you can insert it with an animation, so that all the derivation of the equation, all this thing, because you have to spend a little more time onto this, where step-by-step derivations or step-by-step explanation of the problems can also be done with the help of PowerPoint. You all may be well versed in that also I know. So once the content is ready for a slide, what you have to do is there will be an icon by name insert function in PowerPoint. So from here, you can directly go and to the rightmost end of it, or somewhere in that insert menu, you can see a function called audio. Okay, so if you try to click on audio, three options will come. Audio browser will come, because if you want to directly input some audio from the web file, that you can do. If you want to input a audio from any of the files which is already stored in your system, that you can do this option. But normally it will be easy for you to record for the option to insert your voice clipping. So what you can do is you can click on the record audio function. Okay, so now this is slide one, so that you can just type slide one. So now the system is all ready to record your audio. Okay, so now what now I'll be just now for the sake of reading something, I'm just going to record a audio clipping. So this is the record button. The red button is the record button. So I'll be reading 2-3 sentences out of it, and we'll see how it is getting played. I'm going to record systematic planning of timetable, identification of problems that can occur during a delivery, choosing the platform, cost versus the convenience. If delivery is through licensed platform, optimization of sessions, and what all things that you want to explain about the slide, you can do all these things. And once it is done, that you can just click on insert. Okay, so now the audio of the first slide is already inserted. You go to the next slide, add the content, what all audio that you want to record into this, you can do it, follow the same procedure. And once it is done, we can just see how it will be. And you should save the file also. And now see, when students are actually playing it, your slide will be like this. And if you try to click on the audio of that, so this is how normally it will be. So after this, you can record any number of slides. There is no problem with respect to that. You save your file. Even you can send this PPT file through WhatsApp. Okay, there is no restriction in that. Or you can save it send it by email. There is no problem. So this is the best option that you can choose if internet connectivity is low. So I am sure that now all the teachers will be very happy seeing this. Now there are other options also. You can save it as a PPT, as well as that you can save it as a video file also. So for that, you can do the save as option. Save as, because no, the file is already saved. You can go for the save as option, and that you can change this PowerPoint format to the video format. There will be, especially if you are using the Windows platform, there will be a thing called Windows Player. You can just choose that. The entire PowerPoint will be getting converted to a video file. But that will be a difficult task. Why? Because you have to set transition for every slide. So that is a little tedious task. Sometimes the size of the file also will be little heavy. So it is always better you save it as a PPT file itself, and you just send it all along to your students, so that it will be easy for them and they'll be able to listen to the lecture. Only difficulty in this is that you cannot call it fully online. This is a recorded thing, and it will not be interactive. Students will not be able to interact with you. So that sort of issues are there with respect to this. Okay, so this is the easiest one. So if you have low connectivity, the best way is actually to go for this. Okay, so I trust there is no further clarity is required on this, and if at all that you have anything, you just keep it in writing, that we'll discuss at the end of the session. And now The next option is that if you have the internet connectivity for the students as well as for the teachers, if it is stable, what is the option that you can take? As you said, if you just browse in the internet, thousands of meeting platforms, for sure it will come. And what exactly that you have to call for is the call that you have to take it is based on the cost and the convenience aspect of it. But for the time being, for the explanation of the course alone, for this webinar alone, I have taken two different things. The first one is actually that we'll be going to the Google platform itself, and I'll be able to explain to you about the intricacies of it. And when compared to that of Zoom, what are or the differences or the advantages and the disadvantages also I'll be explaining to you. And for executing this, I'm sure that all of you may be having an email ID in the domain name of your institution. So for example, if it is Maharajas, maharajas.gov.in. So in our case, it is jainuniversity.ac.in. So normally every institution for sure will be licensed to any of the G Suite platforms which is offered by Google. See, in that plethora of activities are actually there free of cost to you. But the problem is that no, we teachers are not exploring it to the extent what it is expected. So few of the things that I'll try to show it to you today. So of that, the first one what we have to take is your email ID in your domain name itself is having all facilities with. If you try to take the email ID, it is not the personal email ID I'm telling, it is the email ID of the institution where you are working with. So you may be able to see the institution's name here if it is an institution licensed one. And nearby that, you can see many dots. It is called Google Apps. So if you try to click on the Google Apps, you'll be able to see many apps which are actually part of G Suite operation, or even otherwise also that you'll be able to know. So if you try to click on this, you may be able to see the Google Meet. Okay. But now what I'm planning to do is, once the timetable is done, and if the teacher is actually getting a slot, and teacher should actually fill in the slot regarding the code, what you have to generate, or the password. So for that, what you have to do is you have to go directly to the calendar. Calendar is an option where you can sync the entire set of activities what you are trying to do. We teachers may have many problems like this, because we may be doing an examination and we may not remember the date on which the examination was done. So all these issues can actually be solved by using Google Calendar. Okay, you will be able to do that by using Google Calendar. All the activities which are associated with the academic activities, you can actually mark it in Google Calendar. And if you use G Suite applications, all these events will automatically be recorded in your Google Calendar. And this will actually enable you to go in a much more systematic manner. And all the teachers will be preparing a calendar of activities. We used to because the starting of the academic session, we may be planning the entire course calendar, it is called. So you can incorporate all the course calendars in the Google Calendar, and you can sync it with all your colleagues, so that you need not tell anything to them. The Google itself will be sending reminders, because such and such date that you need to submit the internals, and the first assignment due date is this. All these things that you'll be able to do it in Google Calendar. And once the timetable is done, a teacher should actually schedule a class. So for that, what you can do is go to the Google Calendar and click on create. So when you add the create button, normally a window like this will pop up. So first one, what you can do is that you can write the subject name, English for BCom or something like that. English for BCom. Okay. That you'll be able to write the heading of the meeting. And now they may be asking, what is the date and what is the time? Okay, for the time being, we'll just keep the time as 1:30, 1 hour session to 2:30. That it is already done. And if you know the email IDs, if the students are connected using a Google Groups, you just type the Google group here. All the students will be automatically be invited by Google. If you don't know the participants list, don't worry. You don't add anyone. What you can do is that you click on add Google Meet video conferencing. So if you try to add on to this, you will have a meeting code which will be generated here, meet.google.com smj hyphen 0 ooj hyphen GIU is the meeting code. So this meeting code that you can copy and just paste it in the timetable. See, 200, up to 250 students can be accommodated in this particular meeting. And if you try to click on this link, and there will be an edit button will come, so that it will be easy for you to copy this. Just now try to click on copy, so that will get automatically copied. So, and if you want to, there is no need for a location since you are doing it all online. There is no location is actually needed. So for the time being, what we did is we have set a timetable for English BCom by using Google Meet. This is the code for the class. 250 participants that you can make them participate in the meeting. This is the Google meeting ID. This meeting ID you have to copy and you should paste it in the timetable. And Google Meet will not be having any passwords since they have to log in from their email ID and join. And the teacher's name also that you can give all along in the format what I have shared with you. And now what you can do is that you can just click on save, and you can just click on the save button. So so it will be saved, and what you can do is the list will be there. See, 11:30 webinar, since it is there in my email, it is automatically it had come here. 1:30 p.m. English class that I have another meeting also by 3. So this is the, because for just telling you the use of a calendar I'm telling. And this calendar, if you are putting reminders, reminder mails also will come to you. You will not miss any meeting, you will not miss any activity. So this is how that you can plan all the academic activity. You may be able to see preparatory examination, meeting, IA finalization, publication, IA entry into ERP, all those things that you will be able to manage in Google Calendar, which is really worth an app. So now your class is all done. Now you need not go to like the Meet platform and all. What you can do is that you can either click here, so that normally join with Google Meet will come automatically. You can go directly from the calendar itself. Else you go and take the Google Meet. So see, your class schedule is already here. The English BCom 1:30 meeting is already done. Okay, so exactly by 1:30 you can click on that particular thing, so that the video will come. So they are actually, because if I try giving the allow button, because the access is given already, Zoom is using my camera, it can conflict. So I'm not doing that. Just like that only, you just click the allow. So normally the other buttons will come. Okay, so I'm not enabling the camera is actually off. And now this is the class. Now what you can do is that you just join the class by clicking on the join button. So that now the class is actually on. Okay, and now if you want to present anything in front of your students, you can click this present button. So if you click on the present now button, the Google Meet will ask you, you are going to give a permission to Meet for presenting the entire screen. If you try to click on that, your entire screen will be presented. The disadvantage of this is that anyone who is a participant in Google Meet can share their screen without the authentication from the host. That means if I am the owner of the class, any student, if they want, they can actually show to you any content without your permission. Say for example, if you are presenting a PPT, any student can easily interrupt it. Okay, and it'll be because if the students are joining from some unknown email ID or something like that, you may not be able to identify who it is also. So this is one disadvantage for Google Meet. Another thing is that you can actually mute all the participants. Okay, you'll be able to mute the participants, but the disadvantage of Meet is that any participant can unmute by himself. But in Zoom, if you forcefully mute the participants, no participant can unmute and talk. So these two controls are actually, because for small classes and all, this will not be an issue. But for big classes, this is really going to be a trouble. So for example, in our case, I'll be telling for English and all, around 480 students will be sitting in one single class. 480 students. So just imagine if all started speaking out. Or no, some people will be they may not be remembering that no, their audio is not muted. So some TV noise or some children crying here and there, barking of the dog, all these things that you'll be able to hear. So you cannot have a control over all these things. And the highest disadvantage is that if you want to take the log of the class, it is very important, because for every class, attendance is mandatory. If you want to take the log of the class in Meet, you have to have the power of the administrator. So normally teachers will not have the administrator power. Normally it will be vested with any one single individual who may be managing all these things, probably the system admin. So it will be difficult for the system admin to generate the log list of every class, because you may be having hundreds of class, or maybe at least 100 classes on every day. And for all the classes, it will be very difficult for the system admin to give you that timetable. So you as an user, you cannot generate the log list. This is another disadvantage. So all these things are there, but the advantages are you need not pay anything. It is totally free of cost. Since your college had subscribed to G Suite application, it is free of cost for you. Relatively for the students also, it is easy for you to use. And when compared to the video quality, it is not at par with Zoom. Why? Because Google Meet is a browser-based application, but again, Zoom is a app-based application. So two differences are there. But now there is a recent release also. Zoom is also going browser-based. So from browser as well as with the app, you'll be able to manage that. So these are the things that I thought. This is relatively simple. The scheduling of class is very simple. Sharing is actually very simple. And one more thing is there, you can actually put the captions on. So now if I unmute, what will happen is that, okay. So what all things I speak will be just like cinemas and all that you might have seen like this. So these type of captions will come, okay, so that if people are there who cannot actually understand what you are speaking, can actually read from all these things. So this is an additional option which is actually given by Google Meet. So all these things will be getting typed. Okay. So I'm just putting the captions on. These all facilities are there actually. And if you try to go to the settings, if you want, you can record a meeting. So this can actually be used if you plan to record any of the class, and if you want to upload to the YouTube, you can use this particular thing. You start a meeting, don't invite anyone. You just give the lecture, record this, and this meeting will be recorded to your system. If you want to change the layout, this type of layout changes that you can see, where all the participants will be shown here and your screen will be here. No, things like that, all related with the aesthetic side of it. Full screen options, that captions I've already explained. So these are the options which are there in Google Meet. When compared to that of Zoom, it is relatively simple and easier, but the major two drawbacks are you don't have any control over the participants. In a classroom setting, it is going to be really, really, really difficult, at least for the first 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. So this is all with respect to Google Meet. So once again, I repeat, you can just go directly to the Google Calendar. you'll be able to the Google Calendar, and from the create window you'll be able to create the class. Any number of classes that you can create. If you have the timetable for the entire week, you'll be able to do it. But what I prefer is, it is always better that you try to prepare and set the timetable day by day, so that there will not be any confusion. If you keep 1 week's timetable full, and if you send it to students, they will make a mess out of it, and they will interchange because they can do all the nuisance. So it is always better day by day timetable you give, so that it will be very easy for the students also to follow. There is no problem in giving timetable for a week also, and since it can be scheduled in the Google Calendar, you also will be notified when you have a session, things like that. Okay. And now once you are all done with setting of the classes, timetable, all these things, the most important thing, at least for the first 2 weeks, is you have to have an hour by hour monitoring. Because if you don't monitor, if you have a centralized committee for monitoring it, teachers may have several problems, because they may have internet, all these things. Students also may be having many issues. So for that, what I suggest to you is that you can actually create a Google Sheet. You all may be knowing how to use a Google Sheet. Google Sheet is an interactive sheet where live updations are done, and it can be shared with any number of people, and you can do a collaborative work and collaborative data entry with respect to Google Sheet. I'll just show the sheet what we have used for the monitoring of the classes. Uh, the same sheet I'm explaining. See, this is the sheet what we have used. So under this, you may be able to see the date. So this is the first day where we have the session. So 33 2000 March we have started it. So the first period of BSc interior design, 69% attendance only was there. Normally it is expected. Why? Because students may be having many issues with, because they also may be very apprehensive how to join the session, all these things. So we have to have a help desk in place, and you have to give the numbers of the teachers who are well versed with the technology. You just make your admin also join in that, and you work as a team, so that if students do have any issue, let them call the help desk or the admin team, so that they'll be able to help them. This is the teachers feedback what they have given, and they'll be asking for the general feedback of the students also. So many were actually experiencing the technical glitches, disturbed by, see, the troublemakers. They may be doing all drawings on the board, scribbling. Students are always students wherever it is, so you can expect. Just imagine, with the interference of the help desk, see the attendance for the second session, 100%. So this is how normal it is. And you have to actually, this is all the, because we have started with 5 hours a day, so that we just see, for all the courses we did online monitoring like this, and attendance also will be closely monitored. And if any fall in attendance, that you have to have a retrospection on what was the real problem behind that. If it is students attitude, you cannot do anything. But if it is anything with technology or things like that, you will be able to help the students. And those people who are staying away, you should ask them what their real reason is. So this actually, in my opinion, it should be continued at least for 2 to 3 weeks. See, for every day you just see, we were having all these things. So a teacher immediately after the session, she may be going, or he may be going and entering the teacher's feedback as well as the students' feedback, and she may be marking the attendance. This is done in Zoom. Attendance will be the consolidated attendance. It is not the individual attendance. Teachers will be able to know, because no, if you just click on the participants window, teachers will be able to know how many participants are actually participating in the sessions. So it will be very easy for us to monitor. you can actually see, just a second. Okay, you will be able to see a scheduling a window like this where you will be able to schedule a meeting. So if you try to click on schedule a meeting, so what you can find here is, okay, you have to give a topic for the meeting. So better you can give the class itself as like what we did in the last case. We will just keep the meeting as English. If you want to give any description, say for example, who all should attend, maybe BSc, BCom, all this people, if they need to attend, you can just keep a description of that. Next one is actually time. For the time being, we'll keep it as 2 p.m. What is the duration of the class? It has been asked. So maybe 1 hour, because normally for a non-licensed version, it will be 45 minutes or so. And if the class is repeating on every day, you can keep a recurring meeting. But I suggest not to go for that, because the recurring meetings can actually create all sort of issues, because the same password and meeting ID will be generated. So it can create confusions also. You may not be able to know which class is what. So registration, it is not required since it is a class, and always click on generate automatically meeting ID. If meeting ID is kept static, this ID will be there for all the classes. So better not to do that, because sometimes from the same license, more number of teachers may be entering. So it can create all the issues with. And for sure, for a security matter, as a matter of policy, you can always click on require meeting passwords. I have not enabled meeting password for this meeting. That is why you are able to join directly. But what Zoom suggests is also for enhancing the security of the session, that you can actually opt for this one. Then host video, if you want to keep it on, that you can search on that. Even at starting of the class, you'll be able to change that also. All these things by default that you can give. And this option for default that you can type, mute the participants upon entry, because otherwise all disturbance, especially the first week, you all are going to face this. So mute participants upon entry, that you can click. This option you untick, because no, please don't allow anybody to join before that you start the class. If you want to know which all students are entering, you can click on enable waiting room, so that students will be coming to the waiting room first. You can give permission one by one. For small classes, it is good. If, say, for example, if you have 100 or 120 students or 100 and more students in a class, if you enable the waiting room, it will be a day's job for you to give entry to each and everyone. Okay, so it is always better you just an untick it. But for small classes, of course, that you can click that. This one you have to definitely make a tick mark. Only authenticated users can join. Two advantages are there. The first advantage is that because if you try to take the attendance of the students, if they are authenticated, their name as well as email IDs that you will get. So it is very easy for you to mark the attendance. Otherwise, if they may be joining as Oppo or iPhone or Samsung, all these names only that it may be displayed, and you may not be knowing who had joined the class. This is the last option. It is only available for a licensed version, because in the cloud, record option, of course, will be there. This is the record option. If you try to click for unlicensed version, it may be recorded to your system. It is always better that you keep the recording of your class. In any further time, that you'll be able to use the same thing, because or else no, there may be some students who are not able to attend the class. You just try to send them the link, or you upload it to the YouTube, and you can share the link with them. So once all these things are actually done, you can click on save. Okay, so now the meeting is saved. Okay, now what you have to do is that you have to copy the invitation. Okay, so meeting invitation will come. This is a host. So if you are doing it from your personal account, your name will be displayed instead of JNK79, and your meeting ID, meeting passwords will be there. Meeting link also will be there. So both the options students can actually take. Either these students can join with the help of the link, or they can go to the Zoom and they can enter the meeting ID and the password. All of you may be knowing it because since you have joined this meeting in the same way. You can copy this invitation and you can paste it to their WhatsApp or something like that, so that it will be easy for the students. Or this meeting ID and password, you have to show it in the timetable. That is the easiest way, and students will be knowing how to do. And before the execution of the classes, one day, for just the sake of making the students ease of all these platforms, make the students to join which all platform that you are trying to execute the classes. Just say hi, because have a casual talk with them. Make them talk also in that particular session, so they may be also feeling confident, because they can also talk very freely in that, and advise them what are the do's and don'ts in this. Okay, in the first class itself, you try to tell them what type of a behavior is expected from them and what they are actually supposed to do. So all these things that you can do it. Now what you can do is, if you scroll down, you can see a thing called polls. You have not created any poll yet. This is a very dynamic thing which is introduced by Zoom. At the end of a class, you can add a poll, or rather I say, you must execute a poll which is based on the topic what you have discussed in that particular session. So for that, what you have to do is that you have to add it. You can type a question. Say for example, no, if it is mathematics or no some or statistics or something, so you can give the session's name here, and you can type the question. Say for example, what is the formula for using an average or mean or something like that. With respect to the content of the delivery, you should definitely ask a question. It can be a single choice or it can be even multiple choice, and you give the options also here. Okay, and after doing that, you can just save the file. If you save the file, you will be able to see you'll be able to see that particular poll when you actually do the presentation. And at the end of the session also, I'll show you how a poll should be executed. So, and now the class preparation or for the scheduling of the class is actually all done. So the poll is already, the poll window will be there at the end of it. Here it will be there, so that if you click on add, the add poll button will come. For the sake of now, I'll be just adding something. Chief Minister of, for the sake of adding only, I'm adding. Sorry. You can write quiz here. The question we are entering it. So different options you can give, and once it is done, that you can just click on the add button, which will be there at the bottom of it. So once you try to add like this, and a multiple option also that you can do, so that participants will be able to do that. So once you add that poll, it can actually be shown here, because I'll show you for the current class what we are having. I have added a poll. See, you have created a poll for this meeting. Poll is actually on feedback. If you want to edit it later, you will be able to edit that. If you want to add one more poll, that you will be able to add this also. Okay, so this will be shown. So if you want to ask any questions to the students, you do it then and there. And now when the class is ready, that you can download the that app, and for how to execute that app, because now there is no need for further explanation. Now the question is, how can we take attendance? Okay, so attendance, log into the web portal of the Zoom. Zoom is having actually two different entry. The first entry is actually through the www platform. Another type of entry is to either through your Zoom app, which is installed in your phone or installed in your system. So you have to go to for attendance, you have to go to the browser based Zoom application. www dot that thing that you can type in a browser, and from there you can just go to the reports. You can just go to the reports, and report, you will, there is a column by name users, usage. If you try to click on the usage, you can have a filter of dates here. Any particular day that you want, that you will be able to get it. So and I'm just now going for a wider search, so that all the classes which are there scheduled on those days will be getting displayed here. Okay. So what you can do is that if you want to see how many participants were there, participant source also will come like this. See, more number of 155, no, 188, 130. So those are actually combined classes where you can accommodate more number of students into a single session. And for that, what you can do is, if you try to click on that 155, the participants list will start coming in. Okay. Now you can see the number of participants and how much time that they were logged in also can be seen. The first participant, she had logged in only for a minute. Then 57 minutes, 50, because no, some problem might be there with her internet connection, and she might have repeated tried the attempt again. So again, it will be shown, because how many times that you are trying to get in, all the login details will be shown here. From here, it is very difficult for you to identify the attendance, because one name will be there for 3 or 4 or 5 times here. So it will be very difficult for a teacher to actually sort this out. So for that, what we can do is, you just click on show unique users. Show unique users. So the system will self calculate the total duration that that particular participant had attended the class in repeated attempts. See, the first name, 58 seconds. The last time when we have seen, it was only a single minute. Now it got changed to 58 minutes. Okay. So now you will get a consolidated, the entire name list also you will get, the email IDs you will get, how much time that they spent in the class also you will get. And based on the time that they spent in the class, you can actually give the attendance. Okay. And now export with meeting data also you can click, so that the class name will come, which is the user will come, duration will come, total number of participants will come, the entire details you will get. You can export this, so it will be downloaded as an Excel data. So automatically it will get down. Every day's class, you download and keep, attendance is done. You need not go anywhere else. Okay. So attendance part is actually done. So now second option is that if you are using a licensed option, where can you go for the cloud recordings? So if you are using a licensed option, you can go for the recordings. The entire classes recordings will be available. So all these things will be available after the session. What I am trying to do right now, this class recording is automatically being done, and once the class is done, the cloud recording will be made available. And what you can actually do is, if you try to click on a particular class, see the 2 links that you will be able to see, and if you try to share that, no, if you want to enable the link with the password protection, you'll be able to do it. So in whatsoever way that you want, you can send the recording link. Or else, if you want, you can click on this, you can view the particular video. If you want to download it to your system, you'll be able to download. And 2 options are there. You can download it as an audio file alone. It is possible. See, audio alone is possible. If you want to download audio with video, that is also possible. Okay. So these are the options what you can try out in Zoom. And now the control options, what all that you have. So if you try to click on here, there is an option called security. I hope all of you are able to see the icon what I'm trying to do now. So now there is a icon by name security. So if you try to click on the security, these are the security option which are available. Once all the students are joined in your class, you can lock the meeting, so that if you lock the meeting, nobody will be able to enter the class. Say for example, it is very common for the students that They may come very late in the class, even though it is a regular class or an online class. This a practice that you have to anticipate. So once you start the class, you click on enable waiting room. So the student cannot directly enter the class. He has to be in the waiting room, and you have to give an approval for him to enter into the class. So you may be knowing who had come late. You can warn the student. You have to be right on time. Okay. And now share screening. I have a restricted share screening for the participants. If you want a student to do a presentation, or if you want them to make any seminar or something, you just activate the share screening for the participant, so that you host the meeting, they can share their slides. Chatting is enabled here. If the students want to ask any doubt or something, that you can do. And annotate on shared content. If I am doing a PPT presentation, this is what happened. Some was actually trying to write something there, so I have restricted it. So you can annotate it, because students normally will do that. And if you feel that some external participants, some outsiders have intruded into your class, you can remove the participants also. So all these options that you have. And another thing is that you can stop your video when the classes is going on. It is a common thing that teachers may be blocking the video and will try to engage the class. So my advice to teachers is that it is always better the teacher's video should be made on. Why? Because then only students will have a feel that they are being observed. Otherwise, what will happen is that no, you are also not visible, and some contents that you may be explaining and going. And it is for the first 2 weeks at least, every 5 minutes you try to call the name of a student, every 5 minutes. Otherwise, what will happen is that the talk will be very monotonous. So that if you want to engage them, every 5 minutes you try to call the names of any of the participant, and you try to talk to them. And when talking, you tell them to unmute themselves and do, or you yourself can unmute them and you can call them, and you can talk to them. So security features that we have seen. Next one is the participants list. So you all may be able to see how many participants are there. So 73 participants are actually running in this particular thing. So you will be able to see who all are there in that. And under this window, in your, since I am host, it is not available here. In your window, there will be a hand raising option. So if you hand raise, I'll be able to see it in the participants list who want to communicate with me. So that also will be clear to you. And another option with respect to polling, I'll be showing at the end of the session. If you want to just pause the sharing for a while, that you are able to do that. This window is called the annotated window, where if you want to write something, if you want to spotlight something, all these things that you will be able to do in the annotated window. And more, if you try to click, there is a chat box. So if you want to just see the chat box, security icon, if you cannot see, it may be because I don't know whether in unpaid version sometimes no securities will not be there. So this, since this is a licensed version, and no, security icon will be there once you are a host. If you are not hosting, it will not come. That is the reason. Security will be shown only for the host. Okay, fine. So more option, if you try to click, chat option is there. And if at all by any point of time you feel that you want to stop the recording, you can stop the recording there. And if you want to enable the attendees annotation, because I have now restricted it, so you can enable it. And if you try to click it here, I'll be able to, the screen will be able to know who is doing the annotation. So that also can be done. And then optimize, all these things are immaterial. So these many things are actually there. Okay. So I have explained almost all the facilities which are there in Zoom. So when compared to that of the Google Meet, Zoom is actually having more, majority, more options and more controls can also be done with the help of Zoom. So this is all together. If you have any specific queries to ask me, You can just keep it in writing. And one more thing that I'll be quickly passing through. It is almost time. It is the post delivery operations, because once you are done with the classes, what all things that you are able to do. So for that, I again invite you to the Google app again. So since you all are having your own domain internet account, sorry, Gmail accounts in the domain name of your institution, you will be having access to an icon or an app called Google Classroom. And one more thing, Google Meet, Google Forms, Google Sheet, everything is actually apps are available. You can download it and keep it in your phone also. So this is a beautiful learning management system, LMS system it is called. But one demerit, I don't know whether to call it as a demerit or not. One restriction what you have to operate this is, every student also should have an email ID in the domain name of your institution. So for example, if Arun is your student, Arun at jainuniversity.ac.in or maharajas.ac.in or rajagiri.edu.in. Likewise, they also should have a email ID in the domain name of your institute. So if you are able to provide, you speak to your system admin, if you are able to provide the domain name in the institution name, you can actually do wonders with Google Classroom. Google Classroom is actually a virtual classroom which can be used to the maximum extent. You may ask me, from your personal ID you can do it or not. Of course you can do it, but it is a copyright violation. Why? Because when you try to use Google Classroom from your personal account, it will be asking you whether you are doing it for an institution or a university. If you click no, then you are all able to use that. But that no answer is, you have to take a call whether you have to say no or yes, because since we are teachers, we have to be very ethical in those the perspectives. So once you are able to give a domain email ID for all the students, what you can do is, you can just, I'll repeat how it is to be done once again. Go to the Google Apps, you just scroll it down, you can see an icon called Classroom. You just try to click on Classroom. So once you have entered to Classroom, if you have any existing classrooms, it will be shown here. But if you want to create a new one, click on this plus button. So if you click on this plus button, you can actually, two things will come: join a class, create a class. So you have to actually create a class. So you have to create a class here. So what you can do is, you just create a class for English section, all these things that maybe the class name maybe BCom or something, or BSc will put. Subject is English. English that you're keeping, and room and all that you just leave. You just create a session. So now what will happen is that okay. So now the class is actually created. Okay. Now the class is actually created. So now this is a class for English. Okay. So here you can see a meeting ID here. This is the meeting ID for this class. So what you can do is that, if the students do have the domain name, you tell all the students to join Classroom by using this code. 2WQHNUA is the code for it. Or you can send invitation also to each and every student, but sending invitation to each and every student again will be a difficult task for a teacher. Better give this code in the class, tell all the students to join. So when they take an account like this, they may be also asked the two questions, whether you want to create a class or you want to join a meeting, join a classroom. So they have to select for join a classroom, so that with this code automatically they will virtually come to your class. So once the class is done, you can generate, you can do the meeting directly from here also, because it is, but other than doing from Google Classroom, it is always better for you to do it from the window itself, from the calendar itself. And once all these things are done, you just go to the, so if the students are joined, if you click on this in the people, all the students list will be displayed here. Now teacher only is seen. Now if you have students in the class, all the students names will be displayed here and their email ID, everything will be done. Now if you click on class work, you can actually use topics to organize classwork, modules, units, or something. All these things that you can do. And if you click on a plus again, you can give assignments, you can do quiz, you can do a question and answer session, materials you can post, already posted material can be reused, all these things that you will be able to do. And assignments, if you try to give, give the title of the assignment, give the instruction, and mind you, you can actually give points also here. What is the assignment marks? So you just type if the assignment is actually given for 10 marks, you can set the due date also. Okay, you can set the due date maybe to 31st of this month that you have kept the due date. And if you want to, because those people who are doing the NAC assessment or NBA assessment, you may be knowing what is rubric is all about. So rubric is actually to which PO CO that you are allocating, because those headaches I'm not again going in. That option is also there. How much marks then to which part of your assessment that you are trying to link this thing to, all the things that you can. This is by default to all students. You can give assignments to individual students also, because if the student's name list is there, that list also will be shown. And if the student is not responding on time, the email automatically will be generating reminders to him, stating that it is time for your assignment, you submit your assignment. Because rather than we teachers reminding them, system will auto remind them. If you want to add any picture, link, file, YouTube video, anything that you want, say for example, if you can give a video file and tell them to write their own interpretation with respect to that. Any creative thing can actually be given with respect to this. And interestingly, this is another beautiful thing called quiz assignment. This I'll be showing it in Google Forms, which is easy for you. Why? Because your examinations can actually be conducted in that. All the examinations can actually be conducted, and it can be linked with the sheet so that grading can be done automatically. Okay, so that also I'll be showing you it in Google like forms. So because at the end of the class, we all have to do online examination, all these things. So you have to learn how examinations can be conducted in Google Forms. So you can, and there is a Meet ID for the class alone. There is a class drive folder also. So you can post all the notes, all other study materials into this driver, so that students can access to this anytime. That is why it is again called a learning management system. So you will be able to post any forms. It can be audio, video, Word, PDF, PPT, whatever that you want, that you can actually store all these things here. And students, there is no fear that the notes may getting lost or something like that. So everything will be virtually stored, and to any point, if you have a phone in your hand, you will be able to access to all the contents. And this is called the grades. So now I have not incorporated any grades, because the internal marks also will be self-calculated for every student in this. How easy it is. So only thing is that you have to give the marks online, so that grades will be created automatically. So that option is also there. For that only I told. And the last part is already 5 minutes up. But again, the last part, what I'm trying to expose to you is a very important one, which is called the examination thing. For that, what you can do is, you can just go to the app again. You can click on Google Forms. So this is called Google Form, and these are all the examinations what we have conducted. So I'll be showing how it will be looking like also, and not how come the answers are. Initially, I'll be telling you how that you can create a question or an examination. So what you can do is that you can click on this plus sign, a blank question that you can click on. So normally a template like this will come. So you can title the form. You can just English internal assessment, something like that you can give. Okay. So immediately if you click, automatically it will come. If you want to have a description, say for example, how many questions, how much time is allotted for this, how many marks, all these things you can actually write in the description. Okay. So now what you are supposed to do is, the option you can have is a multiple choice option, because you can keep the other option also, but it will be very difficult for students to just sit and type all the answers. But it is always better you convert the questions as MCQ, and you can ask it in that format. So now the first question, that the same question I'll type. Chief Minister of Kerala. Type it in the proper way. Who is the Chief Minister? Oh, sorry, caps lock was on. So now you can type different options. A.K. Antony. So all the options that you can give. Now you have to go to the setting. Setting, three different things can be shown. First one is general. So system is asking whether we need to collect the email ID of the students. Of course, yes, that you can give. Second thing is that what you have to type is whether requires assigning, but don't restrict the users. What you can do is that you limit to 1 responses and you untick on this. Responses can edit after submit. Never click on that, because students know once they knows the answer, they may be automatically changing it. And the next one is actually see the summary charts and responses. That also you need not do. And next, what you can do is you can go to the presentation, shuffle question order. And one more guideline I'll give: never give question numbers. If you give question numbers, students can easily copy it. Shuffle the question order so that different students will be getting questions in a different order. Show the progress bar, then go to the quizzes, make this as a quiz, and release the grades later after manual review. If you click it immediately after the submission itself, they'll be able to know what the right answers are. So those people who are yet to write the examination, they'll be telling them this is the answer, this is the answer. So don't allow to do that. Click on later after manual review. Respondents can see missed question, correct answers, point value. This also you just untick. If they're able to see, those people who submit early will be able to know which are the correct answers. So chances are there that no, they may be telling it to others. So once you did all these things, you can just save. So once the quiz option is enabled, there is a link called answer key. Okay, click on the answer key. And what is the mark awarded? I'm just writing 1 mark for a right answer, and I should tell this is the right answer. Okay, once you are done with this, you can click on that. So now we have fed to the system what is the right answer. Now evaluation also will be done automatically by the system. I'll be just showing you one sheet where we have used just for showing you, how the responses will be. Okay. This is a sheet which was actually prepared for our own use, and responses will come. 49 students had responded to the examination. Now, when the time limit is over, I can restrict the students from submitting the answers. Not accepting the responses is what that I did. Okay. So you will get a clear picture. The average marks scored by the class is 21 out of 25. Median is 22, and the range is actually from 6 marks to 25 marks, the full that we get. So all the students' marks will be displayed, and one by one that we'll get the total picture of an assessment of how the answers were. And if you want to download the answer, you can do it from download the answer sheet, download responses. It will be shared in an Excel sheet, and you need not communicate the marks also. What you can do is that you can just tell the system to release the scores. The score was actually released on May 21st. If you click a button, automatically the entire scores will go to individual email IDs. The students will be able to know how much marks that they get. So all the facilities are there in this. This is how it has to be communicated. So and individual assessment also that you will get, individual that you click, it will be the question wise assessment that you want to have, this also that we'll be getting. So all the options, it is self-exploratory. Since it is time up, I'm not explaining further onto this. And trust, I did justice to what was assigned to me. So now it is question